Hey, what's going on out there, fishing fam? Ray Sharifi here with the Dirty Hookers, and today I'm with Cesar from Phoenix, and we're going to talk a little bit about yellowfin tuna fishing, specifically with lures. That's something that I've been trying to learn a little bit over the last couple of years. Kind of struggling myself, so I thought it'd be good to have a little bit of a seminar style video with Cesar, being that he's very experienced, has a lot of hours on the water doing this kind of stuff. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let Cesar take it away.
Okay, so for most people that are just starting to fish yellowfin or bluefin, one of the more current jigs that are real popular are going to be your lead jigs. Cold sniper style jig, dial Westacana jigs. These things are very effective on breezing fish that are jumping out of the water, casting to them, retrieving to them fast, or just dropping it straight down, just straight yo-yo fishing with these things. Other bait that's come out new, this is a peanut. It's a little small profile, heavy jig. A similar weight jig, it's a lot bigger. It's a smaller profile jig. It's a little more round and dense. It doesn't have quite as flat of a shape. It's good for breezing fish when they're keyed in on small baits. However, the more old school style fishing, for those of you who are more adventurous, a real hard jig to beat is a Tatty AA for the smaller grade tuna, up to 50, 60 pounds. It's a smaller profile bait, it's a heavy bait. It actually swims really good if you have a reel that's not super high speed. So what allows you to do, allows you to cast it out on boilers just like you would a Westacana jig or a cold sniper. Give it a 3 count, put it in gear, and start winding it fast. The difference you'll notice is on these type of jigs, they actually have a very distinct kicking motion to it, which will draw a lot more bites versus something like this. They're great jigs when the fish are on the surface and you're burning it right across the surface, but if your reel's a little bit slow, it doesn't really have a lot of kicking action. It has a little more of a rolling action to it, but sometimes it's not enough to draw a bite. Same thing with the cold snipers. They're great jigs, but they're really designed, the cold sniper is really designed not to be fished with a treble hook. Even though they come here in the US market with a treble hook, strictly for the US market. In Japan, these jigs are fished with an assist hook on top, and they're designed to be burned on the surface without the trailing treble hook to give it a little better action. And once they apply the treble hook to the back of those jigs, have a tendency to slow the kick down a little bit more. So if you want something that has a lot of kick and not really biting, these styles of lead jigs, you might want to consider going to a traditional Tatty AA heavy. The other choice would be a number 9 heavy, same type of jig, a little bit slower. If your reels are a little bit slower, retrieve, definitely step away from the AA, go to the number 9. Swims a little bit slower speed. The other choice, Salis 7X Junior Heavy. These things get bit pretty good also. Another jig that doesn't require a high-speed reel to work. Very effective to be fished either on the surface, mid-column, or yo-yo. So if you have one of these jigs on the older style irons, you can fish these things on top. Even though it's a heavy jig, you can fish it on the surface. You can fish it at a 45-degree angle. You can fish it at a 90-degree angle. Or you can fish it straight up and down 180 degrees. Straight up and down like a yo-yo.
So with the yo-yos, or the snipers also, a lot of people when it comes to like yellowtail fishing, they always say color doesn't matter. Would you say that with tuna, color likes to play a role a little bit more, or not so much?
My number one choice is always going to be either chrome, blue and chrome, and then my secondary choice is anything with white. Blue and white, black and white, mint and white. As long as you have some contrasting colors on there.
Okay.
If the water's kind of clear, really clear, bright sunny day, the chrome ones get bit really good. If you have any kind of overcast days, early morning, late evening, anything with white in it gives a little bit of contrast. If it gets the fish something to see. I see guys try to throw chrome first thing in the morning and really late in the evening, and the chrome nowadays are so good that it actually acts like a mirror.
Okay.
And if there's no light to reflect, nothing to reflect.
It's just reflecting the water.
It's just reflecting the water.
Okay.
You're going to lose it. So anything with white in it, blue and white, black and white, mint and white, anything with white in it will definitely have a lot more contrast, and that's something you got to think about. When the sun's up and bright, middle of the day, definitely stay with the chrome stuff. But at early morning, late evening, low light situations, the water's a little bit rough, a little bit dirty, anything with white's going to stand out a lot more than crystal clear flat water. For some of you guys who want to fish only surface irons for yellowfin, the A1's great tight swimming jig for yellowfin. Bluefin eat it too, but yellowfin really like the A1's. It's a smaller profile jig. Unfortunately, you can't fish the A1 lights on real heavy line. 30-pound test is the max you want to fish on these jigs. Anything heavier than 30 pound, you don't get the casting distance, and it has a tendency to be a little bit thicker and the jig wants to come up to the surface too fast. If you want to fish heavier line, the 4.0 light. Same, it's a little bit bigger profile than the A1 light, but it's a little bit heavier, stays in the water better. You can fish heavier line on it, 40 pound, 50 pound, it's fine.
And the 4.0 light's meant for a burn jig, right?
Absolutely, these are all burn jigs. None of these things are designed to swim slow. All these are designed to be burned fast. The fastest burning jigs are going to be your lead jigs, your cold snipers, your Zacanas, slower gear ratio reels, 6 to 1, 6.5 to 1s, your double A's, 6 to 1s, number 9s, 7X juniors, A1 lights, 4.0 lights. So after this, we're going to go to your other options for the tuna. It's going to be your stick baits. This is a Rapala X-Wrap long cast, great bait if you're fishing a slower reel or even a spinning reel. These things do not need to be burned nearly as quick. They have a really good erratic action in the water. They cast very far, and they're a lot easier to work for guys with spinning gear or that aren't really good at casting surface iron. Definitely want to fish them with the singles. If you have these with treble hooks, I do recommend switching up to the singles for 2 reasons. 1, when you do get a fish pinned on there, they have a tendency to stay on there better. 2, it's also a lot safer for the anglers around you, not having 2 sets of treble hooks flying around.
Very, very important.
The other bait, this is a Nomad Riptide. These baits are not a cast and wind, these baits are a cast and sweep. So you want to cast these baits out. I mean, a lot of guys have these things and they say they don't work. These are designed to be cast out, and you want to do a very long sweep with your rod, wind back up to it, and sweep. So what it does is when it sweeps, it actually causes it to have a real erratic kicking action. And when you stop to wind down on it, it'll stop and kind of flutter and shimmer on the way down. And then when you sweep it again, it'll trigger the fish's strike response on a fleeing bait fish, because it stopped, it hesitated, and then it takes off again. Usually will trigger a bite.
So more of the action like almost a true stick bait, like what they use in Australia.
A true stick bait. This is a true stick bait.
Gotcha.
The other option is the Shimano Current Sniper. This is a bait that is cast and forget. Just cast it out and wind it. Don't have to think about it. Don't have to worry about if it's sinking right. Just cast it out straight, turn the handle. These things are very effective. I do not recommend these things on party boats, however. These are definitely better baits for private boats because for 2 reasons. 1, you're closer to the water, keep the bait in the water longer. Secondly, it's because you have 2 sets of treble hooks on these things. It's just a little bit safer when you don't have 20 people around you when you're throwing these things around. These things get bit very well, not only on the yellowfin, the bluefin eat these things too. However, you do need to replace these hooks.
Can you replace them with inline single?
No, you cannot replace them with inline singles. Inline singles are too heavy, it kills the action. You can go 1 size bigger on these hooks and they're fine. But the hooks they come with are too light of a wire on bigger fish. Smaller grade yellowfin, up to 30 pounds, I don't think it's an issue. But if you were to hook like a 40 or 50 pound fish and you're on it for a long period of time, you might have some problem with these hooks. So if this is a size 1, you want to go to a size 1.0. It actually gets the bait a little more weight, tracks a little tighter, and if you hook a big fish, you don't have to worry about having hook problems. These 2, party boats are fine. This one, more of a private boat lure. And then last but not least, the little poppers. There's a lot of popper fishing the past couple years, and with the bluefin, everybody's been fishing the bigger poppers. Bigger poppers are fine, but the yellowfin just don't key in on big baits, especially on the surface. You want something about 4.5 inches, no more than that for the yellowfin. The smaller poppers get bit really, really consistently over the big poppers, even if there's bigger fish around. They're just keyed into that smaller bait. This is a Nomad Chuck Norris. So what it is, it's a small profile popper with an extremely large face. So what this allows it to make a lot of commotion, but still have a small profile bait.
Okay. And
it's very important on yellowfin when they're busting on the surface. You want to cast it out. You don't want to cast it in the middle of the boil. You want to cast it to the edge of the boil. Let it sit there, give it a 3 count. Water kind of settle down and give it 1 good hard rip and wait. I see guys trying to pop it like they're fishing bass and they're trying to pop it in. You don't need to do that. What you need to do is you need to make that big push, bunch of commotion, and that bait will sit there standing like a wounded bait and the yellowfin will come and eat it.
Okay.
The problem with I see guys fishing poppers, they want to work way too fast and these fish aren't. They're coming back and they're boiling at where the bait was and not where the bait is. So you want to pop it, and let it sit.
Okay. So not my previous trip that I just went on, but about a month ago I was on a 1.5 day, and they wanted it really fast and almost like lighter pops. Does that happen often, or more times than not do they want it on that like long pause?
They want it more on the long pause, so if they want it fast moving bait, you might consider using a
stick bait.
A true stick bait, which is like the Nomad Designs Riptide. Or, unfortunately we don't have one here, is the Rapala Subwalk. That's a very good bait. That or any kind of like a spook type bait.
Okay.
When they're throwing chum, you get that sardine that hits the water, and his head's out of the water and he's burning across the surface, and he's kind of leaving that little V-wake.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do with an orca.
Really?
I see guys try to rip an orca or work it like a stick bait.
That's definitely how I've tried to work it.
It doesn't work that way. It's designed to be wound in with your rod tip up, so that the bait's nose is up and it just kind of skimmers across the surface of the water.
Okay.
So if they want a fast moving bait, that's when you want to throw an orca style bait. Okay, so this is like an orca shaped bait. It has no bill. It's a little bit rounder profile bait. And these things are designed to walk across the water like this. So the head moves, the tail actually doesn't move. The head kind of pivots across the water when you swim, when you burn it back in. And you want it at that angle like this. You don't want it flat. You want it up. So it looks like a sardine that's running away. This is a new bait from Mustad. This is the diving pencil. Has a little flash to give a little extra flash on it. Shimano makes the same thing, called Flash Boost. Has the little reflective piece inside. Some of the newer baits that's come out this year for this market.
So if you were to go out with 5 or 6 of these lures out of everything here, which would that be?
My top 5 lures: AA, A1, a biled jerkbait, a popper, and a pencil bait or a stick bait. That'd be your 5 baits you'd bring. Definitely want to throw these on longer style rods, 8 foot, maybe up to 9 foot. I wouldn't fish anything longer than 9 foot. Anything longer than 9 foot, it just becomes dangerous to cast, especially when you're not on the bow of the boat. If you're in the back of the boat, or the middle of the boat, it's a little more difficult to cast. 8 foot rods are fine. The other thing is, don't be afraid to throw spinning gear. Don't be afraid to throw spinning gear. Spinning reels nowadays have come a long ways. With the advent of Spectra, it gives you plenty of line capacity. You don't have line twist issues. You don't have line flying off your spool like you did with the old Dave Mono. So spinning gear is absolutely fine, especially for this grade of fish. Granted, yellowfin up to 50 pounds on a spinning gear is no problem. Bigger fish like those 100-pound bluefin, stuff like that, maybe not so much, but that 30 to 50 pound stuff, spinning gear is fine. Most spinning gear you have out there will do it.
I'm really glad that we went ahead and did this video because I learned a lot myself. From the looks of it, I'm definitely been bringing in the ballpark the right kind of stuff, but I for sure learned a lot, and I'm going to be bringing a lot more different lures from here on. With that being said, I think we're going to talk a little bit about what reels to use when you're casting these lures, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely want a star drag reel in this situation. You're not flying bait. You don't really need a lever drag reel, you don't need a 2-speed. Any decent star drag reel will work. Nothing too wide, 20 size, 25 size reel, up to a 30, probably all you really need. Don't need anything bigger than that. You don't need a big tall reel because it's all about casting. If you get too big of a tall reel, it's too hard to cast. If you get a reel like a lever drag, the spool's too heavy, it's hard to cast again. So to try to get yourself a good star drag reel, 20, 25 size, Daiwa would be like a 35T. And Shimano will be like a 20, 20A, and Penn will be a 25, or a 40T.
And you're doing a big top shot on top of it?
No.
No top.
Do not require a big top shot on top of these. You can throw a lot of braid on these things and not going to make a difference.
Okay.
Now when you're flying baits, different story, but for this type of fishing, you can get away with a short top shot. But definitely go heavy enough top shot that you're not going to blow off with a fish on a strike.
On the initial strike?
On the initial strike.
Okay. 40, 50 pound?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
On your irons, you probably want to run a little bit lighter because the thicker the top shot's going to be, the more it's going to affect the swimming action of the jig. So on the irons, you definitely want to go a little bit light, a little bit thinner top shot. But on the stick baits and the poppers, you can do a little heavier top shot.
Okay. I think we covered just about everything. Big thank you to Eric, as always, for letting us come in here and take over the shop to get some content out. Appreciate it. And also a big thank you to Cesar.
No problem.
For taking the time out of his day to go ahead and teach us quite a few things. I myself learned a lot in this little personal seminar, private seminar. I'm happy that we were able to film this and share it with the rest of you. So thank you, Cesar.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Eric. As always, please give this video a nice big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time, hopefully doing some more tackle talks with Cesar and teaching you guys along the way. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next time.